Hi, this is Scott Hall, and I'm going to show you around planting a syntropic agroforestry planting that we have put in Carradale, which is the Margaret River area of southwestern Australia, on the very southwestern tip of the continent. And there's a unique climate here, as there is in any location. Here we have, well, particularly today in the last few days, very, very strong southwesterly gales and squalls and storm weather coming in from the Southern Ocean. So this part of the world is like I said, the southwestern tip of the Australian continent, where we've got Antarctica. Well, there's nothing out off the coast until if you head south, you'll get to Antarctica, about 5,000 kilometres or a little bit less, depending on where that ice shelf is at any given time of the year. And to the west, we don't really see anything until the Cape of Good Hope, which is about 8,500 kilometres across the Indian Ocean. So it's a unique climate on its own. You would consider it a sort of a cool to humid Mediterranean climate. It does have a warm, but not so hot, but a warm, dry summer, and it has quite a wet, cool winter. But because of the oceanic influence here, we don't get the freeze. There's no deep frosts or freeze, so it does have the oceanic effect creates quite a mild influence here, and we get the rains that come from those big low pressure systems that throw the southwesters out from Antarctica, and creates quite a good growing environment. So we've planted a system that is specific to this particular part of the world, specific within probably a radius of 40 to 50 kilometres, because we're going to Pemberton again soon to plant. And in Pemberton, although it's an hour away, it has quite a different climate, because there's much less oceanic influence and a lot more continental influence there. So there are similarities and differences, but I'll make another video about Pemberton. Let's have a look at this one here in the Margaret River area. So the site is quite poor soil, kikuyu and whatnot, poor drainage. You can see that by the reeds out there. But we've put in a lot of options for our macroorganism to choose the plants that will do the best job. So let's start with the layout. We've got 2 tree rows. And they're 5 metres apart, or 4 metres apart, so the tree row is 1 metre wide, with 2 metres each side to provide biomass. So there's a 4 metre gap between them, because each has 2 metres on each side. So each row will have a total of 4 metres each to provide the biomass. So let's have a look at the biomass consortium to start with. Now it's a transition between winter to spring here at the moment. It's quite cool. We've planted for spring, but we might be waiting a little while just to get the right soil temperatures for germination in some of our crops. So what we've done is we have broadcast over the cultivation. The cultivation, just as a parenthesis, is not to kill the kikuyu. It's to create disturbance and create a successional response to give us a response with placenta 1. And placenta 1 is a cool season mixed species cover crop, which will hold the ground until there's enough soil temperatures enough high enough soil temperature to get germination in our sorghum. The sorghum is our target crop for the first year to provide biomass to continually cover the soil in the tree row. It's also coupled with cowpea, and together the sorghum and the cowpea create a medium and emergent stratification in placenta 1. So that's what we're going to get as the main species. But we've also broadcast over it a whole heap of fennel as well. So quintessentially Mediterranean, where you get a crossover of temperate and subtropical type of influences. You know, your sorghum and your cowpea can grow here. And you can also get your fennel going really well. It's a pretty unique and cool climate to work in, the Mediterranean climate. There's a lot of crossover between a lot of climates, something we shouldn't fear or worry about too much. To follow on from the sorghum and the cowpea and fennel and mixed species cover crop, and that harmonious blend of plants that we've got of placenta 1 annual species, we have lines every 500 millimeters of Napier grass planted in here, and in between the Napier grass every metre we have Tithonia diversifolia, the Mexican sunflower, the Margaredon. And in between the lines, so in between the Napier going that way is the Tithonia. In between the lines going this way is giant paspalum. So the Napier grass and the giant paspalum together form a perennial consortium of medium and emergent biomass producing species of placenta 2. And in this sort of what is sort of temporarily a path, but it's not, it will be all covered in plants all the way to the very edge of this row, is every half metre comfrey planted, forming a low strata edge between the two. And that should provide enough biomass, because this is going to be a well-fed system, as all should be. You can see all the leftover cuttings that we've used as biomass everywhere. This is all the leftover from the cuttings we used to plant. So let's have a look at the agroforestry consortium. First up, every 1500 millimeters we have Eucalyptus globulus. The Tassie blue gum. So they form the key species that we are hinging everything off in the beginning. They'll stay from 3 to 5 years depending on the growth rates and everything else. In between, well, just as a very important point that I won't go past just yet, I'll just stay with this one, that at every Tassie blue gum, every Eucalyptus globulus is the seed bomb, the seeds of succession, the seeds that will ensure that this system increases in complexity continually for the next 200 years with our conscious management. So outside of that, in between each one, we have, in between each eucalypt, we have a Cape Lewin wattle, which is a local species that's very powerful. So of course we always look around our area when we need to select plants, because that's where the best information is. Check the roadsides, as I always say, check the disturbed areas and check what's going very, very strongly. And another good reference is to always look around you for what people think about plants, and generally the most hated plants are the ones we want because they're the most strongest plants. So just as an objective guideline, if you want the most powerful plants, which we do because we need photosynthesis as much as possible, people's attitudes towards plants can steer us in the right direction. So with each Cape Lewin wattle, we have underneath it a New Zealand mirrorbush cutting. Here's a good example, we can see it here. That's the New Zealand mirrorbush. So that's a low strata plant, we believe. It's a hardy plant, and it can persist under the canopy that's provided not only by the Cape Lewin wattle, which is a high to emergent strata, but even under the other species that will come up later, particularly out of the seed bombs with the eucalypt and all of the other species that are in there. In between each Tasmanian blue gum and Cape Lewin wattle is another consortium of two cuttings, elderflower and echium. And they're also planted with two different stone fruit seeds, plum and apricot. Stone fruit are notoriously hardy and weedy, and so they will provide a medium strata later on. And the tension between the echium and the elderberry are managed by pruning. The echium may take the lead depending on the weather conditions, but if it's hot and dry, we may see the echium doing most of the heavy lifting. But as that changes and things settle down in our climate, our agroforestry system moderates, we may find the elderberry doing the rest of the work, and then we can cut the echium back. But if the echium's doing a lot of the work, we can cut the elderberry back, and they will be fine. Each one will give where it needs to and step back when we ask it to. These plants do a good job of that. In the line, in seed form, we've planted down the middle of the row as placenta 1, borage. So borage will be the first dense canopy. We've also planted a Cassia sana type of weedy plant that we found all the way through. And we have also planted Lucina in there as well. Whichever one of those will do best, we will find out. We will not try to anticipate, but we will allow and manage. And then finally, the target species for production are nuts, macadamia nuts. So it'll probably be a medium high and emergent stratification of the production consortium of something like oak and macadamia. Actually, medium. Macadamia is medium. There may be some avocado in there too. And then the seed bomb will do the rest of the work. And as you can tell, we have overplanted, but there's no such thing as overplanting because we are managers. Planting and management. Remember, it's 5% planting and 95% management. So that is our consortium that we've planted, and the interaction and us being part of an intelligent system will do the rest of the work. But we have given this everything it needs to make a good start and supply a very, very good, highly efficient carbon pathway. And we'll check up on it over time. And if there's any, I did forget to mention, pardon me, with each Eucalyptus globulus with each Tassie blue gum is a mulberry cutting, because that is really the same life cycle, the eucalyptus and the mulberry, but complementary strata. Again, it's emergent and medium. So the Eucalyptus globulus will grow up and to the top, where the mulberry will grow out and spread. So they will couple perfectly together. The mulberry only requires 60% light, and it will get that in perfect conditions underneath the Eucalyptus globulus. And there is actually a chrysanthemum planted with each of those as well to just lead the mulberry. We might have to update and replace some mulberry cuttings right now, depending on the conditions, because it is a little bit cool. But we will check it and manage it. And then this system will be continually planted out for the rest of the paddock ahead, and then spread that way too, and width. And this whole block will become agroforestry. But start small, don't bite off more than we can chew, get really good at this little bit, and then we can plan out and roll the rest out just with ease and flow. But we get it right. The most important thing is to get it right and then go big with doing it the right way. And there we go. There is our Margaret River humid Mediterranean. And we'll go to Pemberton next.